Okay, I'm gonna start in the upper right-hand corner. So the one that says x squared plus 6x plus blank. And I'll show you what we're going to do with it. Because if I just try to explain it at first, it usually isn't gonna click or make any kind of sense. So at least this way you will understand what we're trying to do with it. So our goal is going to be that we're gonna put a perfect square number right here that would allow us to factor this into two of the same factors. And so they would call that a perfect binomial square. And so there's multiple reasons why this is called completing the square. But the main reason is that we're trying to put a number that would work perfectly. And it would be different every time depending on what's written there. So I will just tell you for right now, the number is gonna be 9. And the reason it's gonna be a 9 is because this would allow us to factor this into x plus 3, x plus 3. So if I were to FOIL this out, I don't know, Alan, can't let you sit there if you can't like go on with it because you're way too far behind. If you guys remember FOILing from a long time ago, FOILing is if we were to multiply this thing out. Like I would take x times x, x times 3, 3 times x, 3 times 3. So some of you call it distributing, some of you call it FOILing. It's all the same thing, but it's multiplying it out. And that would get us to what we kind of started with. Caitlin, shut that. You don't need it. And then since we were able to factor it into two of the same item, we can write it as a square. So this is pretty much where the name completing the square comes from. Now, I never taught you the quick way of factoring. We factored every question the exact same way. We multiplied the 1 and the 9, and then we looked for which two numbers would multiply to 9, add to 6. Well, it was 3 and 3. Like, we're kind of using this information, but in a different way. The hard part for you guys is going to be, how did I pick 9? Okay? And completing the square, the way we are going to do this is we're going to take that number, whatever it is. Whoop, actually, let me erase that a little bit, because I need to include the plus. If there's a minus there, I need to use the minus. I'm gonna take that number, divide it by 2. So positive 6 divided by 2 would be 3. And then I'm going to square it to get the number I wrote in. Lesson.
Thank you.
That's pretty much gonna be the step every time. Like, the steps aren't hard, but they don't necessarily make logical sense. That's usually why this topic can be weird, difficult. Okay, Danielle, I think you volunteered to start first every day, right? Excellent. Okay. What am I gonna cut in half on this middle one? Okay, not the x, just the 4. Okay, so I'm gonna take positive 4 divided by 2. That will equal positive 2. Do you want to call on somebody for the next part? Alan, what do I do next? What did I do next over here? Perfect. Once you divide it by 2, you're gonna square it, and that's what you're going to write in that blank spot. So 2 squared is 4. Now, we're not going to have to do any work factoring. So on this one, I'm going to be able to write the factors right away. Alan, call somebody for me. Coda, what number did I get when I cut it in half? Positive 2. So in both parentheses, I'm going to write positive 2. The number I got when I cut them in half is what goes right there. This number that we cut in half is going to go 2 places. 1, we're going to use it to find the number to write in the blank spot. 2, we're going to use it to write in the parentheses. So if I were to write steps for this problem, they usually just don't seem that they make sense because, I mean, they're weird. Like trying to describe it doesn't really help. Once you understand what to look for, it's easy. And since I wrote 2 of the same parentheses, I can just write it squared. Now, we can actually skip this step. We can skip the step where we write 2 parentheses and go straight to the final answer if we want. I'm assuming you guys would prefer that. I mean, less work is generally nice, but if this makes more sense, you could do that. Okay, let's start in the upper left. Pick somebody over here, Coda. Like, let's move away. No, somebody over here. Nate? Where's Nate sitting on there? Upper left, how do I start? Just the 2. Yep. So I'm gonna take the positive 2, divide it by 2. All right, you wanna keep going, you want somebody else to go? Okay, pick that person. Thomas, where do I go now? He told me to divide by 2. Okay, that equals 1. What did I do on those 2 when I got that? Okay, I have to square it, but yes. So square it, which is still 1. Okay, good. So I'm gonna write a 1 and that's fine. FYI, after a while, you can do this work in your head. I'm just specifically writing it down because the steps are odd. Like it's not natural. But you're welcome to do it in your head after a while. Thomas? Choose somebody. Cade? I don't know why I even asked him, I should have just gone right to Cade, okay. Cade, now that I wrote the +1 in there, I could theoretically just write the final answer. Good. So you take the number you cut in half and write it right there. I didn't start with this example because there were multiple 1s, and I wanted you to see where the individual numbers were coming from. Because 1 squared is 1, so it doesn't help. If it helps, there's 2 things that you need to answer each time. The one thing is the number that gets written on the line. So that is the number that completes the square. Second thing is what you would get by doing that. So just so you guys know, when we get to the other problems, this is what I'm looking for. You are welcome to show as much work as you want, but those are the answers that you would be giving like on the test. Caleb, why are we on the Chromebook? There's no calculator right now. I see. Caitlin, put it away. Do you guys have like another test today or something? Well, if you need to study for your test, you definitely can do it while we do work time. But like when I'm trying to teach this, you should watch, otherwise you'll be off. Okay, Kate, pick somebody here in the middle. I think you went last. Yep. 3, Les. Upper left, help me just start. Okay. Oh, is that all you were gonna do? Is that all you were gonna do? Okay, so that equals 4. This number gets used a couple times. Okay. Okay, so 16 is our first answer. Second answer is going to be squared. Nice. Once you get the steps, they're always going to be the same. Sometimes the numbers are worse, but the steps are always the same. You probably will want a calculator as we go for, like, on some of them, you're going to need a calculator. These numbers right now are pretty small and straightforward. How are we feeling? Let's do one more together. Les, somebody you want to call in? Okay, number works. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Laura, you're 5. Do you think you could help me go on the next one? Not even the first step? You wrote them down even. Yeah, go ahead, you can help her out.
Okay, first, divide 10 by 2.
Okay, good.
And it's gonna equal 5.
Good.
And square the 5, it's gonna equal 25.
Good.
And the answer is x plus 5 squared.
Perfect. You've got it down. Nice. How are we feeling about this? I mean, like I said, it's like the steps aren't necessarily logical. It's not something you would have came up with on your own. They're not difficult, they're just not natural. Okay, the portion that I skipped, if I remember correctly, at the top, doesn't it tell you to use algebra tiles? It does. I'm not a fan of algebra tiles, so I did not want to use them at all. Do you guys even know what algebra tiles are? So on the next page, I believe there's a picture of them. Like, I'll explain to you how algebra tiles are used, I'm just not going to use them. For one, well, there's way too many people in here to have this many pieces all over the place. I guess theoretically, we could have had a little bit of fun by cutting it out, but that would only be a tiny bit of fun. Okay? You'll notice this one says x squared plus 10x. Well, there are 10 of those long bars. If I were to draw little tiny squares, this is another reason why it's called completing the square. Our goal would be to make a picture of a square from x squared plus 10x. And we are going to draw little tiny squares that fit in here, even though it's like harder than you would think. And if I were to draw little tiny squares to make the picture a big square, how many little tiny squares will there be? That's what it's pretty much asking. Okay, this is way more tedious than I thought. I should have stuck with a small number. And they don't even look like squares. I'm really bad at this. They look like D. It's like I'm writing my name. There are going to be 25 little squares. Now, if I would have not used the picture, we would have cut 10 in half and made it 5. And we would have squared it and got 25. And we would be able to factor this as x plus 5, x plus 5, x plus 5 squared. Go ahead, Ellie, I saw you asking something.
Why wouldn't we just do ordinary words
Oh, definitely, that is what we do without a picture.
Oh, okay, so this is just like a deep learning.
This is a visual way of finding all the same answers.
Okay, got it.
And they're not bad, I find myself getting annoyed using algebra tiles because like, trying to do this many little pieces is super, well, it's time consuming and you can find the answer quicker without it.
Yeah.
But it helps some people make sense of where the answer comes from, so I wanted to show you one. One thing we haven't had so far, we haven't had one with a negative sign. That's technically what these little red minus, I don't, obviously they're not red on yours, but these red minuses stand for negative sign. Dasha, help me with this third one, and our last problem we're doing together. Good, we get? Oh, wait, it won't read, there we go. You get, you get -7, I heard you say that. What do I get when I square -7? Positive 49. Good? So there's our first answer. Our second answer would be? Perfect. You put the -7, the number that was cut in half, in there. And you are welcome to do this picture method if you would like. Like I said, for some people, it makes way more sense. It's just like, my hands are too big to do little tiny things. So I don't. Okay, that's this whole topic. This is all the farther we're gonna go in completing the square. But this isn't the entire thing we're going to do, but I wanted to teach you this part first, because this is the part that's on the MCA test in 11th grade, so it's part of the state standards. So obviously this will be very much in the front of your mind when you get to 11th grade and you take the MCA test. I would like you to do this page. Here. Put a star on this page. This was the first page we started. Put a star on this page. And I believe the next page is also no, that's the next topic. In my mind, I thought there was one more page of it. I guess we'll just call it on these two. So your goal for each one of these problems is to find the number that completes the square and how to write it as a perfect square.
Can you put your questions at the bottom of the second page, because it doesn't have a fill in the
The ones at the bottom of the second page are half done for you. So the ones at the bottom, this number was already written in, but the goal for these is to write them as a parentheses squared. So you're actually gonna do the same method, but like half of the problem's already done.
Okay.
Yeah?
Do we have to turn like the worksheet in what we're done?
Let's make it unofficially, yes. I'm not gonna put it in the grade book, but I would like it done / by the end of that. I would think everybody here should be able to finish it by the end of the hour, just because we have a full hour today, so we have a half hour left. And these go pretty quick once you start them. I wanted extra time this hour because I want to be able to call up the people who are missing things. So I didn't want to add to the assignment list in Schoology. Okay, perfect. Maybe.